In the beginning, there was only the good war. There was only one face of the enemy. We called them Charlie, the Viet Cong. Seduced by revolutionary politics, the war had been a reverie slipped inside the Pandora box that I had left behind. We were told that the gooks were threatening our homeland and sabotaging the well-being of those we held dear. In order to protect our loved ones, we had to eliminate the enemy. I got drafted on the 20th June 1960 and arrived in Ho Chi Minh City. I joined Kim, a Korean Marine, and An, a South Vietnamese local popular forces, on an assigned mission in Bien Dong village, just north of the city. This is part of the orders for the Combined Action Program of the Marine Corps in order to break up enemy-controlled air. The troop had been walking for over half a day in the humid air as sweat shaved to our uniform. Our feet shuffled through the tedious, and a mischief of brats fled surrendering to our uninvited presence. Sliding through the shrubberies, we came to a house at the site of the walled village. Enclosed by the boonies, the compound had been fortified with bamboo-sharpened stakes and speared onto the soil. A barricade of barbed wires lay inside a wide circular earthen moat, involving numerous hamlets interminable like the life we would lead during the war. Here is where the same scene is ritually initiated in every war, somewhere. As soon as a soldier shows up, the children would gather and cry, "Got any gum, chum?" Amid the small crowd of children gathered around Kim, the enemy emerged from the distance and disrupts the scene. The child limped and leaped as his bones protruded over his bare skin, hung by an emaciated frame. With each step he made, his breathing followed as he paused for balance. He stooped to tug at a stuffed toy that had been carved by a bayonet under a pile of rubble and crossed his arms over his body. I rose from the cases of mortar shells and wrapped the toddler from arm to elbow and elbow to shoulder, like the Vietnamese square cakes enveloped with ladong. We came to know the boy as Shung. Shung and his family had been coerced into the resettlement. They called it a concentration away from their homes for their own protection. After all, we are just like fish in the water, Shung blatantly stated with a look of disbelief from inside the hamlet. In the distance, farmers tended to the dikes of rice paddies in the background as elderly folks walked by the strategic roads perimeters away, a memento of the war confining every moment of Vietnamese rural life. During the day, Kim and the troop paroled the hamlets and aided the villages with their communal labor, such as fixing their wells, re-erecting homes, and bathing their water buffaloes. The bad war came in the wet season of 1967. Kim and I received intelligent reports from peasants living on the outskirts of the hamlets. They said they had spotted a Charlie's hideout in a hut that once served montagnards traveling by canoe via the delta. Kim spotted 3 dark shadows cast onto the backdrop of a hut. Her eyes darted around guardedly as the shadows unfurl and ominously disintegrate into a puddle. I signaled Kim with the click of the tongue as we dropped to one knee. The trigger gorged the hurled grip of the rifle onto the callus in my hands. The bullets ricocheted back in rapid succession. I returned to find masses of indentation in the lands where the infrastructure of the dispensary had been. The compound had been pillaged and blasted apart by mortar rounds and remnants of body parts sorted in a pile of rice bags. Shung's mother had been put into quarantine as a Viet Cong suspect. That night, I visited Shung where the debris of the hamlets had been. I marched in as he set utensils and Tupperware on a bamboo mat. "Join me for some mackerels," Shung muttered. I grabbed a pistol from my pockets and aimed at the temples of the boy. "You are Viet Cong. You are trying to poison me," I nervously cried. There was a thudding of the ground. Many years later, I religiously wiped the lacquered exterior with a piece of rag. I dug into every crevice of the porous insides of the wooden interior and dusted off the velvet bottom. I watched the sight of the box deteriorating from my eyes as I laid sewn on a rigid bed from the elbows beneath. 3 blobs of shadow arise from the ground and expands into the air. It is time now. They have come to get me, I thought. I crouched into a hollow and sat on the plank of the boat as Chung expertly handles the outboard motor as we travel to a market in a village as it all fades to black.